Welcome back, everyone. It's time for ESA season X. I nearly said season 10, but it's not. It's season X. We're going Elon Musk over here. I'm Pastor, joined by
I'm
Pooble.
not. It's that we does not include me. I need to just
The
be
wrong
completely
one.
upfront with that. But yeah, we're here. We've
Just thought
got
I'd
one
throw
of
you
these.
under the bus.
Thanks. We've got one of these higher seeded matchups just waiting for you. We're going to confirm another team going towards the next phase of competition, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I really can't wait. We can see the bracket playing out there. Let's take a look at the runs that these teams made to get here. I especially want to look at Team Sync for a second here, Joe, because I mean, these are some players that we know, right? These are players that we recognize, we've seen through in and throughout so many seasons of it.
Yeah, we recognize them, but this kind of run that they've managed to form so far might not be as familiar. Usually, this team previously going under names like Misclick, like Windows Key, they really did struggle early on these competitions. They always qualified, they were always there for every season, but they weren't really finding success. But here they are at 2-0, potentially 3-0, certainly favored heading into this. And they've beaten some pretty good teams. Looking at MVG there, that
Hmm.
had a incredible 14-0 start, and they
Yeah.
looked to be on a pretty good trajectory themselves, but they met Team Sync and they lost. So really nice that Team Sync have got themselves here so far. Not yet qualified for those finals. One more best of three required, but they've done it twice already. Surely they are just almost guaranteed this spot unless we can see a bit of an upset here.
Yeah, absolutely. And then over on the other side, we've got Sfam Esport, who started out under Devil Esport, but now, even through their second series, it has been closer for them. I mean, their first series wasn't that close. They lost 3 rounds in 2 maps.
Yeah.
But then, it was a 2-1 against No Offense, a 7-5 loss, 7-5 win, 7-4 win. So keeping things fairly close between them. And two of those maps, the first one, Nighthaven Labs, they lost 7-5. The final map, Chalet, that they lost 7-4. And those maps are something that we need to keep in mind because I believe, can get the map veto up now to have a look at where we will be going. And we see two of those maps, Nighthaven Labs, Chalet, right there in the pick.
Yep. On top of that, we've got Cafe to start things off, which, as we know, is our favorite map of this
Oh,
map
we love
pool.
Cafe.
Certainly. And picked by Sync here, they're looking to start off strong, but they will be on that attack. So they're going to need to bring the pace pretty early on. You're looking for ideally 3 rounds on that attack. Two is workable. And hell, if they're a really strong defensive team, maybe they could gamble on a 1-5 split. But they need to be picking up some rounds early on. And Cafe is a very slow map, which does make things quite difficult for the attack. But equally, that means that when they head on to map 2 like Nighthaven, or even head onto their Cafe defenses, they're warmed up a bit, right? They've
Yeah.
gotten that difficult bit down while they're still maybe a little bit slow themselves, but they heat up, they warm up, they get into the real just nitty gritty as we get further on this series. They should hopefully be picking up those rounds and winning those maps.
Yeah, they absolutely should. And I feel like Sync will be feeling pretty confident coming into Cafe Dostoevsky. Well, they've won it twice so far in the competition. It was a 7-5 win against Al Aspire. And then, really, what we should be looking at against MVG, a 7-1 win in the third map of that series. And I mean, they did get 5 defensive wins to start out that game. So, I mean, you said maybe they're a strong defensive team. I mean, they certainly look it based on that previous performance.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll need to be bringing success on both sides there, especially with that start on attack. We need to see that just continued pace from this side. And for SFAM, they need to be winning rounds early. They're starting on defense here on Cafe, but as we pointed out with Sync, they're also starting off the series here, so they might not be too warmed up themselves. Both sides here, this first half could be critical as we see that first ban come through.
Yeah, it absolutely should be critical. This is where all our eyes, ears, and attention will be going. Grim taken away early, and so is the Dockerby there. So, two attackers that are dedicated to information, right? This is not too surprising for Cafe Dostoevsky. I think there's a lot of places to hide if you're a defender. It makes sense that some more information based operators will go out the way for this attack.
Yep. As we also pointed out, it's a very slow playing map, and part of that is due to the roam clear. So removing a couple of those tools is just really designed to bleed that clock down a bit. And we're seeing that reflected in those defender bans. Two really stally operators, the Azami and the Mirror, taken off the board straight away. So hopefully that should even the playing field. But with the amount of these strong, real just time wasting operators on the defense, you're still really looking at this and looking at this map, this operator ban phase, and really favoring the defense here. So it puts a lot of pressure on Sfam to actually win these rounds early on, because if given this massive advantage, they're still dropping rounds to Synq, it could be disastrous come round 7.
It absolutely could be.
Defenders,
So
protect your bombs from
we
being defused
jump
by
into
attackers.
the lobby then, and immediately the defenders get to work, and they're up on the top floor here, Poogle.
Attackers have
It's a
discovered the
site that's
location of a
seen
bomb.
some drops in popularity recently, especially considering the skylight and a lot of control that the attackers can gain fairly quickly, just being able to have access to the roof. It can be quite easy for the attack to tear things apart, but also that does come down to that information gain. So I would have been expecting to see something like a
seconds to
mute
go.
being brought along to really try and stall out those drones, make these defensive
5
positions
seconds
much
to
more
go.
secure, but as it stands, that's not what Sfam are going for.
Attackers objective.
Yeah, a much more kind of aggressive lineup, seeing that Doc, seeing that Warden particularly. Jaeger being brought is a little bit of an oddity. Usually we're seeing Wamai comfortably take that role of utility denial, just it's a bit more versatile than the Jaeger, but still just bringing that operator instead, seemingly maybe a bit of a comfort pick. The bulletproof camera, you could argue, is a bit useful, but it's also not been actually placed down, so I think this is purely a pick for the weapon itself, as we're seeing the cautious approach from the attack here. Pizza placing on a couple of those Nomad air jabs, but like a standard cafe round, not a lot of real action in those first 30 to 40 seconds.
Yeah, it's all about setting up, getting to the building, and getting into a position where the attack can get their attack going, really. But now the drones start to come on in. Now these positions start to be established for the side of Team Synq. Everyone's in their drones. The Capital bolts coming through as well, and the gunshots to boot. Solo gets the opener, but Zay is able to answer back. There's so much damage coming on through. Thankfully, there is a dock on side. Rashi brings himself back up to full, but it's a lot of early pressure coming in towards the defensive side.
Yeah, Solo still trying to add a little bit more pressure. He's got someone cornered in that back freezer position, but it's the dock, so a simple grenade isn't going to do anything to peel off that little bit of chip damage if he wants to, but he's perfectly content to just sit here, stay, cause a bit more problems with the attackers. Yet another player falls. Pizza gets the trade, though. It's still surprisingly close despite the pace of this round, as Solo gets another. Still got that dog trapped, and Rai gets another 2v2 here, and despite this being a really strong defensive hold here, the attack finding pick after pick as it's now a 1v2.
Yeah, Solo's been doing massive work in this round. 3 kills already. Now Romiko, the last one left. Does put out vods there inside a cocktail. Solo still on this window. Looking to try and swing this. Oh, gets a spot on the player, but just planting the diffuser. Playing smart, playing well, and Solo, massive impact. 4 kills to start out the game.
Yeah, I really like what I saw there from Synq, just playing aggressive. They knew the different parts of the defense that they could deal with and also ignored the ones that they couldn't. That dock could have been a real sticking point in the freezer, but they really smartly realized that they couldn't get a direct kill, so instead they pooled more resources elsewhere, managed to get in a position where they were getting that case down, and from there, it's basically a one round, right? You can't really do anything if you're Rai in that position, and it allows for Team Synq to get a beautiful start to this map. Still a lot more rounds to go, but already one attack on the board on Cafe. Given these bans, given the overall context of this series, you couldn't really ask for a better start from Synq.
No, you absolutely couldn't, and it was pretty nice as well. Obviously, you do have a player that gets 4 kills. That's not always replicable, but I liked the game plan that they were going for. You know, they got players into the map and actually on the ground there fairly quickly as well. You had obviously Fod on the Capital, Unfalls on the Ace as well, getting in pretty fast. So it showed that they weren't backing away from these fights, people.
Yeah, and that's what you really need to see from Cafe, a map that, as we've really hammered down, it can be really slow. It can lead to a lot of very last minute executes. So if you're not afraid to take these gunfights and you aren't backing down, that is a great sign. It's also one that could be exploited if Sfam can really catch on to the game plan that Synq is trying to run. If Synq do overplay their hands, that's a perfect opportunity for the defense to strike back. So it's really nice to see from Synq, but it can't be over relied on, because if they're against a quality opponent like Sfam surely must be, if they're in these 2-0 bracket, then it can be exploited. So we will need to see a bit of a change later on in this round. But also, if that never comes from Sfam, then Synq are really looking strong and really looking favored heading into this.
Yeah, they absolutely would be. Back up on the top floor again, though, and it feels like from Sfam, not really a huge change in their strategy.
10 seconds left.
But they, instead of the two Baral and the Jaeger, we now have a Malusi
5
and the
seconds left
Goyo.
before insertion.
They're dealing a lot more on denying the access there, it feels like,
Attackers
from
objective is to
Sfam.
defuse the
They
bomb.
also recognize that Synq, they got into the map, they got involved fairly quickly. And yeah, they don't want that to happen again. You have the Banshees to slow them down, to give away the information, and the Vulcan canisters to do pretty much the same thing and deal a bit of damage to boot.
Yeah, we talked about aggression at the end of last round. Keox nearly loses his life as Sfam are bringing in a lot more focus on these early gunfights, something we didn't see at all in round 1, but it hasn't really paid off at all. Only damage is a little bit onto Pizza and a little bit onto Keox. Has been healed, but that's a bit of dock utility wasted already, so you still would tend to favor Synq a little bit here, as they have managed to draw out a little bit of utility. They've repelled the defense's initial strategy. They've still got to actually do more to get into this round. There's a lot of pressure around these windows, and that was very nice in round 1, but if Sfam just don't peek them, you can't really gain much from these positions as the attacker.
Yeah, Solo got 4 kills and was pretty much on Repel the entire time. That cannot be allowed to happen again. Sfam, they're dealing some decent damage, but again, Solo was pressured on that window Repel, so if the previous round is anything to go by, that could be pretty dangerous. The flashbangs now come in, though. Frag grenades as well. Pete is going to want to get in here on the Blackbeard. But being shot out from below, Zay has been able to find the opening kill. That's Pizza falling, the Banshee giving away the information, but Solo still finding the kills on this Repel. It's absolutely ridiculous, with Bod and Romiko training each other out, and Keox finding one. Sfam get themselves in the advantage, and Unforce hasn't been able to sneak into the site this time. With the Banshee going off, they know of his position. Impact grenades coming out, though, and he's been caught inside of the map. Pete falling, and now Unfalls. Just a 1v3 to try and find. Doesn't even have the case in these positions being held from Sfam. This is a mighty difficult clutch to try and find.
Yeah, that was a must kill from Pete there. He doesn't quite land the shots on Unfalls. Gets one. Still a 1v2. Still very little health on Unfalls, but also on Saint, who doesn't quite find himself in the engagement yet, but that's more damage traded onto the defense. Pasta, this might be doable. If he can isolate these picks, he gets one.
Surely
one
not.
versus one does end up dying. So close for Team Synq, but a much stronger round from Sfam brings them their first round in the series.
Oh, I mean, from these first 2 rounds, Poobal, I think we're going to be in for a scrappy game, that's for sure. Came down to a 1 versus 1 in the end there, and 1 versus 2 in the first round as well. These teams, they seem to be evenly matched, but now the top floor has been conquered for the side of Sfam. They now head down to the kitchen. Oh, this game has me on the edge of my seat, Poobal, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, we're only on round 3. Both these teams looking pretty even so far, but time for a new site, time for an unseen site so far. Maybe Kitchen could be the part where this map totally shifts and one of these teams does look significantly stronger. We'll have to wait and see. Looking at this operator selection, that Vigil being brought, the almost classic time-wasting operator, along with that Goyo, means that Synq, if they aren't very concentrated. They aren't very to the point with their roam clear. They could be in a really dire position when it comes to the execute. They need to be moving fast. They need to be getting kills or at least getting ground very fast as well. Because if not, this combination of the Goyo, of the Vigil, along with stuff like the Mute and also the Frost, which can punish potential over-aggression, they're going to be in a really difficult spot here. So they need to be just very methodical.
I like that you pointed out the Frost here too, Pooble, because it's an operator that Sfam have brought every single round, if my memory serves me correctly, which certainly feels like maybe a less common choice. We can see the Goyo making a turn there for Ren, but yeah, Frost maybe not the highest of pick rates, but Sfam certainly seem to love her, and it just means that Team Synq, they have to make sure they're methodical, like you're saying. They have to make sure that they're crossing their T's and dotting their I's, because otherwise they could get punished fairly easily. And an easy punish nearly comes through onto Romiko. Finds himself just peeking those stairs, and with Solo now coming up, or coming down the stairs, sorry, as well. Trapped in the corner. They, however, does find the opening pick. Oh no.
Yeah, he's on that scope plus though, so he can just basically teleport away for free. Gets that chip damage back as well as the individual health pools are unique to both those shells. So he's actually gotten away there scot-free and gets a second onto Pete. Remarkable play from this operator that was so hyped coming into the game, but hasn't really found a lot of success since. Zay just really a masterclass in this ability, and he can even potentially go for another flank. The sound very loud, but it's masked by the breaching charge. Solo has no idea that Zay is back here. Bad timing, yes. See, the operator gets the pick. Triple for the robot here, as it's left Synq just floundering. One of them still outside of the building, can't get a freebie themselves. This is a great round for Sfam and a great round for Zay, who's still looking to go for these potentially riskier plays. Thinks better of it, but wasted a bit of time, wasted a bit of resources. Great job from this one player.
Yeah, 3 kills is massive impact, and still alive, pushing for more. Yeah, sure, despite your other shell gets taken down, but you can still do so much. Full health on the gun that you do have. Impact grenade has been used as well, so really, it is only the gun, but we have seen it can do massive work. Player spotted inside a bakery for unfalls, but I mean, Ren doesn't need to push. Ren can just sit back, but the rest of the team crumbling around them, and it's all at the hands of Zay. I mean, absolutely farming in this game. Could potentially be on for more. On the upstairs right now, not really near where this push is happening. They're playing this as a team, working out well for them. Keox gets his final kill. Ace denied, but Synq won't. No, Synq will care. It's the side of Sfam that won't care. They get the round.
Just a very, very, very good play from Zay in that round there. Just playing the operator perfectly. A great gun for the job. Knowing when to get out of those situations and when to actually play for their life, play for the gunfight. Phenomenal. And it's allowed Sfam to get that lead away from Synq on the defense, which is really the position that they should be on as they head towards this tertiary site. No more Scopos this time, unfortunately. A lot more classic of an operator lineup here. The castle, though, really could be the linchpin of this defense, being able to obstruct certain entry points for the attack, force them to use utility, force them to use manpower. And looking at the lineup for the attacking roster, you've got that Ash who ideally would want to use those breaching rounds on other things, not castle barricades. The Maverick could potentially cause some interesting interactions with these little murder holes you can make with that torch. But you can see here, it's necessitated multiple switches. You need that Hibana to deal with those castle barricades from a range. You needed that sledge, but in fact it's been swapped out for the ace and the lion being brought as well. A total shift here to the side of Synq as Sfam seems to have caught them off guard initially.
Yeah, this is the power of the attacker repick, though. Can be afforded to go in a little bit blinder and be able to get yourselves into those good positions. Oh gosh, unfalls. Nearly gets a freebie at the start of the round, sprinting past the barricade, the open barricade, not really aware of what the situation there is. And vods, though, have been taken so incredibly low right off the rip. Rashi, though, has had some damage dealt back in return. It's a fairly even exchange in the end.
Yeah, just looking at the utility on the side of the attack here as well, I'm really not a fan. You sacrificed a lot of soft breach. You only really got that Ash, and she's got both vertical to deal with and those castle barricades. So you would have liked to see something like the sledge, or at least breaching charges on another pick like the Ace. Instead, Synq almost betting it all on their gunfight ability, and that can be a very fickle thing on Cafe because it's such a defender-sided map due to the pure structure of particularly that second and third floor. It can be incredibly difficult for the attack to find entrances, find gaps. It looks like Solo's looking for one, though. Is Zay aware? Maybe not. With the bulletproof camera close by, he's going to see that player one eventually.
Ren, though, answering back, find the response, and that seems to be the common trend so far. Player gets a kill, and there's a trade in return. Ren now falling, Pizza with a second. Suddenly, Sfam not quite favored enough in this situation. Is it time to maybe abandon this top floor? Romiko, difficulties getting down the stairs, and has now been taken down from the vertical. There's one player left to try and bunker down the entirety of the site. Player on the stairs is Solo. Has been able to find the finisher as well.
Sometimes all you need is 5 guns on the board, right? Sure, Synq didn't have the greatest utility lineup there whatsoever. I think even they would agree to that. But they had a very specific goal in mind of just throwing bodies on that top floor to clear out particularly these positions around Cocktail. And from there, it led to almost a total collapse from the defensive side. So really nicely identified from Synq there. Sure, it did rely on gunfights, which aren't the most consistent, but if you're confident, if you know you have the ability to outgun your opponents, why not? Don't even bother wasting time setting up utility. Just go for those fights, click those heads, and win the round. Back to 2-2. All even here on Cafe as we're entering the real final parts of this first half.
Well, back onto the top floor we go. Third time in 5 rounds that we see this bomb site, and well, hopefully it is the last. Even if Sfam win or lose here, I feel like a 4th attempt at the bomb site could be fairly figured out at that point. Let's see, what can they go with? They've brought the Tuberal back in, actually, in place of the Malusi, so constantly shifting around their strategy, but still the same overall ideas here.
Yep, got that glue as well, so the 2 operators combine wonderfully for stalling out the clock, even though maybe appear like they shouldn't, right? You know, you've got that cold element, you've got that heating element. They don't really counteract each other though, as much as I'm aware, right? You can't cancel out a Tuberal canister with a fire, can you?
If that was an interaction, that would be hilarious, but I do not believe it in.
Yeah, so you're just gonna get slowed down and potentially killed as well. Yeah, Brava here. Hacking what, right? You've got a bulletproof cam and you've got stationary cams. That's about it. Nothing too key here. Maybe, again, it's just one of those comfort picks. We've seen both these teams opt towards slightly less relevant operators just because they like the way they play. This is a very slow start from Synq, though, and this is a team that has been traditionally in this matchup being very fast, very quick to get in these engagements. No such speed here, right? Over a minute gone, no gunfights, no damage exchanged on either side. This could be a pace that Sfam is really liking here, because if they can force Synq to waste a little bit more time, it just means they're drastically more likely to win this round.
Well, the opening pick does go their way. Vods using the power-up. We saw him bringing along the Capitao in the earlier rounds of this half. Same weapon, different operators, slightly different use cases. Gathering a bit more information with those drones, I suppose, and like you said, hacking some of the cameras, taking information away from the defense. Now, the attackers from Team Synq, they're heading into the map here. They're getting themselves established. Bathroom has to be vacated. Too much pressure coming through. Again, Foddy's spawning so much with those clutch drones. They're going to have so much information, but I mean, the C4 doesn't quite work. We're using Zoto canisters to try and take away any claymores that would be outside as well. There's nothing there, but no players either. So all in all, it's just a bit of information that, hey, Team Synq, you've got a 5 versus 3 on the bomb site. They don't seem all that fussed by it. They're still just trying to go in, and Fod, that jump in is perhaps a little bit misinformed. Unforced does answer back, keeping the advantage in for Team Synq. But oh my god, that shot is disgusting! And Ren's found a third in the round. Make it 4 for Sfam to take the lead.
And it's a really concerning round from Synq there. Great job from Sfam winning all the gunfights they were presented with, but that was a drastically different looking attacking side there. Usually, we've seen Synq taking these engagements on their own terms, but it took well into the 2 minutes before they actually went out of their way to try and get a kill. Sure, they got the opening pick, but that was on the defenders' terms. That was trying a cheeky little, not exactly run out, but a peek through that bottom white door, and it did end up paying off well for the attack. But you can't just rely on the defenders to throw bodies at you in really inopportune positions, because they're just simply not going to do that. They've set up that site in the exact way that it forces the attack to really take these disadvantaged gunfights, to really have to play the numbers and try and use other utility to balance things out. And that just simply didn't happen from Synq there. They weren't playing in a proactive way. They were sitting on repels, eventually got in through Cigar, but at that point they had no real infrastructure helping their push, and they got cut down. Really not a great look from Synq there, because a 2-4 is fine if they end up losing this round, but they really would have liked to at least break even, because it makes it so much easier when you head on to that second half. If they only come away with a 2-4 split here, you'd think they'd maybe been robbed a bit, because they have played far better than a team that has only won a third of the rounds on this half.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. And we were speaking to Bozamax, who all of the viewers should know before the game. And he was saying that maybe Team Synq might just run away with this game, but right now that's not what we're seeing. They're putting up a brilliant fight so far. And, well, if you just go based on the round count, they're looking like the better team, but Rashi's been thoroughly outdone there. Pete with an incredible angle all the way through. Another opening advantage for Team Synq, but like quite a few of these rounds so far, they haven't really been able to make it stick. Let's hope this time there's a different outcome.
Yeah, what I want to see here is them playing proactively now. They've got that VIP control. They can safely assume that there's still some amount of presence, potentially around white stairs, but immediately towards the front door, that left side should be clear. They've droned it out. They know it's like that it's in that position. They can now either focus more bodies towards Bakery or potentially exploit what could be a gap in the defense. What we're seeing, a triple stack towards Bakery door. Romeko is by those red stairs, and Say is still very aggressively going for these outside peaks, but it has been a push towards Bakery. I'm not sure if they're ready for it. Ren does find it, takes down Unfalls, and suddenly the advantage is gone. Fod desperately tries to go for the trade here, but Sfam just quite smartly tucking themselves away, not wanting to offer anything else, as they've got a much better position now in this round.
That was a lovely pick there from Ren to be able to bring the man count level here in this round. Like you said, Synq, yet again, they haven't gotten proactive. They've sat back and they've let Sfam take control of the round again. Now it's on Sfam's terms. It's on the defense. They can shut up shop a little bit here now. VIP's been abandoned. They can bunker on the site and they can find the kills they need. Dayrino taking down Pete. Bod under pressure from the red stairs as well. He's out in the open inside a bakery. The catches Say off guard. Keox does bring things level again. Back and forth we go. But now it's just Pizza. 1 versus 3. Sfam looking to take control here. They're looking to establish themselves on the defensive side. 1 versus 3 to try and find, and Ren denies it. Brilliantly played in these last couple of rounds from Sfam, but it's got me questioning, Poobel. Team Synq, what went wrong?
Again, it's really a case of they didn't capitalize on the opportunities they got. A beautiful opener, bring it to a 5v4, and their answer to that is, let's have 3 people stack up on Bakery, but only send 1 person in, and There's no chance for an immediate trade. It seemed like they really dropped the ball there, right? Only sending in unfalls towards Bakery. Fod tries to go for a trade, but he was on drone. There was a lot of time between that kill going down and him going for the swing. There's really no chance he could realistically get that pick. Luckily for Synq, these are attacker-sided issues, right? These are issues where you have to be the one to go in there and take out the defenders, make ground, win rounds on the attack. Luckily, it's now round 7. They've swapped onto the defensive half. They no longer have to worry about being as proactive as we've been saying, because they are not the ones taking ground. They are fully able to set up the map how they want to here, and it's Sfam's job to really solve those problems, make those clears. So that potentially alleviates a bit of pressure from them, but again, just looking at the way that map started, Synq would have been favored for so many more rounds, particularly after those first kind of 3. And that just didn't really happen. 4-2 down, sure, they can easily win 4 of their own, bringing things up to 6, bring themselves a map point. But Sfam have now gotten warmed up. They have now gotten really into this series, and they are taking a lot of these gunfights and winning them. And that's not something we can really say for Synq, aside from a couple brief examples.
Yeah, only 2 rounds to their name. Not the worst showing, but like you said, just before round 5, or just after round 5, sorry, I would have liked to at least be 3-3. Realistically, you want every round you can get on the attack, because now you're on the defenses. They're expected, perhaps, to do well. Yeah, sure, in their last game, they did get 5 defenses. They're certainly starting well. Never guarantee it, especially against an opponent like Sfam.
Yeah, that's Rachi taken down here. Hasn't had the greatest map for himself. 0-6, he has been on more supportive roles, but equally, it doesn't really matter if you're 4-2 up, right? Not everyone can get these insanely high KD ratios. There's just not enough engagements for that to happen. So, sure, not a great map for him personally, but his team is still picking up the pace, still holding that. I guess you could call him dead weight if you're feeling very mean today. I wouldn't like to use that term, because Siege is way more than just a traditional shooter. Either way, that's a player off the board, that's a gun off the board. Resorted to only checking drones now, and look at these cameras that the defense have got set up. They know that Keox is going for this fast push, a very, very late Goyo charge setting off there, meaning that he can't continue that assault. It gives the defensive side of Synq a little bit of time to breathe, but now they are truly feeling the pressure. A whiffed C4 doesn't quite bring down Ren to half, and that has really called for the rest of his players to repel into this site, try and bring in a bit more pressure, and it's completely unknown. Zay gets 1, they know there's a player towards that hatch as well, so unfalls, caught off guard, flashed, fully taken down. Sfam managing to make this round work despite another early loss.
This is ridiculous how they keep getting away with rounds like this, where they lose the opening pick very early on and yet still establish the control for themselves. This time, though, the clock working in the advantage of Team Synq. There's just 30 seconds remaining in this round to try and get something done from the side of Sfam. Sereno is low on HP as well. So you're effectively looking, based on the HP, on a 3 versus 3 now. They do still have this Blackbeard. Shield in front of his face. He's got to be aware of Pizza here. Now he crosses, looking to back up his team. There's barely any time. They just have to sprint in. Now Diffuser drops. Everything going wrong. Nothing's going to work as Pizza finds a triple. Pete's locking things down, and the time runs out. Team Synq get the round, but oh my word, what were Sfam doing there?
That's just cafe for you, folks. You know, you can get the clear down really well. You can take the floor above, take the floor below, whatever. But it's going to take time, right? You know, it takes so long just to get to the roof of this map. It's one of the real reasons why it can be so, let's call it divisive amongst Siege players, because so many things that in other maps would take a negligible amount of time do take a little bit longer, and those timestamps do start to add up to the point where, yeah, you've cleared out the top floor in actually pretty quick fashion. You've only got about 40 seconds, though, to actually get down to the site itself. And from there, Synq is in a massively favored position, despite those early losses, despite really not playing the greatest, right? We saw, again, one of these players not responding to a very telegraphed sound cue like we did way back in that first half with the Skopos drone. Despite that, though, they do win this round. They are on a good start to yet another half, but we said this back in round 1, Pastor. We said that after they got 1-0 up, it's a wonderful start, a great foot forward. They couldn't continue the pace here. My question is now, will Sfam be able to repeat a similar comeback on this second half, or will Synq finally continue to just move forward with the wind in their sails?
Well, if Sfam lost that first round on time, they don't want to do it again. We've got a ram, we've got a blitz as well, Pooble. Keox bringing the shield operator along. This to me telegraphs that they are at least trying to do something quickly. And yeah, sure, we had the Blackbeard before, but even still with the Blackbeard, you're more likely to sit on back as Fod goes for a run out. That's ill-advised, as it turns out, because well, Ren was watching for that. 9 kills now in total throughout this match. And, yeah, Fod dead immediately. No impact, and Ren's found another. First player on double digits, as Pete also falls here. The hands of the Flores.
Yeah, phenomenal start for Sfam here. Synq determining that the issues that almost cost them their first defensive round was their speed, their lack of aggression. Not sure if I agree with them on that, and it certainly seems like that isn't the issue here, as they've been taken down to a 2v5 already, at the very least. Solo finds 1, 2 versus 4, still lacking in the man count, and luckily it's a blitz up there, so neither of those players end up dying in the engagement. But look, Pizza, in a very, very risky move, has gone to the top floor, but Keox is already gone. There's no one to really get that, no one for him to really get this early pick onto. They've all moved away from this position. They've left Solo on his own in sight, less than 25 HP from the looks of things, taken down. Pizza went for a very long flank, but there was no one there to meet him. He might have just cost his team any remaining chance of winning this round. Flash, just put the Warden glasses on at least. Nitro comes out, but does get the kill. Never mind, 1v3, but there's 2 players up here that now know that these sites should be completely free.
He's been able to get past, I think, still aware of this. Rashi already has 1 kill, so no longer on the donut. The Pizza running away, able to evade him for now. He's got the spot on, though. Rashi locks it down. 2 kills in this round, finally getting some impact in the kills department on the board. And like you alluded to at the start of this round, Joe, Team Synq, sure, they started the half well, but now Sfam right back in things and re-establishing their 2-round advantage.
Yeah, I would really like to see that aggression from Synq on their offensive rounds, really, because that was really not the place to be going for such risky plays. You know, Fod dying instantly, Pete close behind as well. It wasn't the adaptation that Synq really needed there. And Sfam, credit to them, of course, they take advantage of Synq's mistakes wonderfully by just continuing to keep the ball rolling. You compare that, let's say, to the way Synq were playing their attacking rounds. When they were gifted on those couple of occasions a really clean, really quick opening pick due to Sfam's aggression, they still played pretty timidly. They still just held on the repels, they held cross angles when they actually had the inherent man advantage to go for more risky plays because there was always the opportunity for a trade. You look at how Sfam chose to handle it, they get 1, they get 2, they just keep on going, keep on peaking because they know that they have their teammates behind them to get those trades and maintain that man advantage position. This time, looking at the adaptations, we're seeing a lot of traps from Synq, so now potentially realizing that they aren't winning these head-on-head engagements, just applying more utility to really bring the odds closer towards them towards their victory, right? You've got the chip damage from the Capcan, the chip damage and the intel from the Legion mines, stall potential. This is a really, really difficult lineup to break here for Sfam, but again, you're still looking at gunfights and you're still losing them! Romiko gets one here, 4v5 once again. Synq, just a preposterous start to this round.
You'd think we're on Clubhouse, like, with the amount of drugs around. Like, Solo, again, it feels like Team Synq, like you said at the very start of the previous round, that, yeah, sure, maybe they lost attacks due to not being aggressive, but they've gone way too far in the other direction. It's absolute crazed behavior, and for for the second round in a row. An early run-out jump-out from the building has cost Team Synq the opening pick. Now Fod has been spotted here by the drones. Blitz taken down. Pizza there to assist his mate, at least. Doesn't get quite as out of hand this time. Oh my word, it has been a scrappy start to this round again. And the point I was going to make before everything went to pot is that they've got a Jackal now. So they're looking to expedite that roam clear even more.
Yeah, Zay knows that Legion is close by, but can't really afford to take that gunfight now. He's taking that chip damage from the EDD, so it seems like Solo still managing to find value in this round despite his early death. That's good, at least for Synq. A little disappointed, I can't lie, in Sfam, because despite once again being given that opening engagement, they aren't really capitalizing on it. They're still playing very slow. They actually sent Theox in alone, which is a big red flag, because you need someone playing behind that shield operator, or else what will happen happened, right? He got caught off guard in a 2v1. Free trade there for the defense. Fod, though, taken down. So at least Sfam managing to claw back this man advantage, but this lack of intel is now really hurting them. Saint is afraid of the potential for a player on that top floor. That's causing him to bring up this drone. That's causing him to lose time. And it looks like Synq might win yet again on the clock here, almost getting down to that 30-second point, Pastor.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous, but I guess when you lose the Blitz, you kind of use it as the tip of your spear right in the previous round. You go opt for a similar strategy. The Blitz falls early. Suddenly everything grinds to a halt, and it indeed has. Got 15 seconds left, and they're still nowhere near the site. They've got to get in. They've got to do something now. Finally inside a bakery, and they're looking to try and go for this. Unfalls finds one. Reloading. Player inside the prep hole. They spot each other, but he can just run away. Waste more time. The player's falling, dying, everything falling apart, and Team Synq bring themselves back within one round.
I guess, you know, congrats to Synq winning that round. Again, it's on the clock, so it seems like that operator selection did pay off in the long run, but you've got to ask questions now. That's 2 rounds where Synq could have been in a way stronger position if they didn't just go for an early engagement, an early peak, and die instantly, right? You could have won that in way more convincing fashion. A win is still a win. That's still 1 more point added to the score ticker, but it's not a great sign if Synq is continuing to double down this aggression, because it's been counted every time. Round 8, it led to a complete snowball for Sfam. Didn't have the same results in round 10, so that's something, but I would like to see a little bit of a leash added to these players on Synq, maybe forcing them to stay in the building within these first 30 seconds, because they could be in such a stronger position with all 5 on the board if they just don't give in to those urges. You'd really like to see that, because Sfam are still looking very strong now.
Absolutely are.
10 seconds to go.
And hey, if things keep going like this with the back and forth, Sfam are going to win the map. In Synq, they need to find that cutting edge. Realistically, needs to be in this round. They're in the mining museum, which is by no means a terrible bomb site here. They got opportunity to try and defend, but I just don't want to see them throwing themselves out of the building again. Because, yeah, sure, you won the previous round, but, I mean, that jump out did them absolutely 0 favors.
Yeah, Zay getting a bit more usage out of those Twitch drones, taking down a couple of those Fenrir gadgets, a couple other cameras as well, allowing for his team to have a bit of an easier time on the offense. Ren as well. Actually, looking at this lineup, there's a lot of anti-gadget operators here. The Twitch, the Brava, the Ram, the IQ. They're really just trying to crack down on all those little things that were causing the Sfam players to lose a bit of their health, lose a bit of their time, the real cause of that loss from the last round. I like that adaptation. My only fear is maybe they've leaned into it a little bit too much. That's a lot of support util-focused operators. Sure, you've got the Ram, you've got the Ace to go for those kills, but you're not really providing yourself with all the utility you need to actually defeat those players. Sure, you're stopping them from using gadgets, but it might not work out the way they hope for without a traditional kind of entry operator in this lineup.
Yeah, the operator that you'd say is maybe the most like an entry operator is the Ram, who's on the player with the least amount of kills in the lobby. You know, not to try and be dismissive about it, but it just, or about Rashi specifically, but it just seems like the composition here is just not really best suited, like you're saying. Beirino has fallen here to the hands of Pizza, playing that Echo. Romiko somehow able to get past. I thought probably he was going to be down there, but not to be. And with Fod falling, it's now 4 versus 4 yet again. Both of these teams, they just seem to love giving away the opening advantage that they find for themselves. But even still, the time becoming a factor yet again. Players have been found. Look at this angle from Pizza. Just about dipped away in the nick of time there, Romiko. There's still no access to the site. Solo falling thanks to the long angle on the rappel, but Pizza's found a second. Effectively a 3 versus 3 until Solo can get recovered, which does indeed now come through. And now a 4 versus 2. The information lacking yet again. Player upstairs they're not aware of. And the Yokai drones to deny this plan. Out in goes Toxic Babe. So much damage being dealt. And the pressure coming on in. Solo flanking. And Team Synq have tied us up.
Yep, a much more confident round from the Synq there, right? They don't go for these early runouts. They don't lose lives needlessly. They get a great opening pick on that top floor, and they just keep the pressure coming. There's so much pressure, particularly from that first floor, that it causes a bit of a misdrone from Sfam as they don't manage to realize that there are still players on that third floor. So really nice from them, just keeping Sfam on their toes and not allowing them to too thoroughly drone that whole map. Really great from them. I like to see just smart play on that defense that doesn't revolve around, mindlessly swinging angles and hoping you win your ones. It was much more clever, the strategy they chose to use there, and it paid out beautifully for them. All tied up, as you said. Potentially, here we could see a really crucial round. Whichever one of these teams wins the round 11, bring themselves up to map point, put a bit more pressure on their opponent. If Synq can do that and can really just keep Sfam feeling a little bit stressed, they could steal this round away, because Sfam is almost the opposite of the first half. They've looked a lot stronger here, but Synq have managed to claw away a couple crucial rounds off the back of the timer and have now got back to that fighting form of the first half, arguably when they need it most.
Yeah, it does feel like a very topsy-turvy game so far with the way these things have been playing out, but you know, sometimes that's just the way of Siege. Said. Very, very important round coming up. Round number 11 here on Cafe Dostoyevsky. We're seeing a Solus being brought along here by Unfalls. Pretty decent pick, though, I have to say. Seen a lot of drones. You got the clutch drones coming through from the Bravo. You got the Twitch drones as well to try and zap away any of that utility. So much you can spot out, and you can spot the players that are on their phones as well. Immediately, information being put to good use. The drop-in comes in. Definite Dread Mines. They do some work, but Fenrir himself, Bod, has gone down.
And more of that needless aggression, right? At least he isn't jumping out the building, but still incredibly risky play. Standing under that new hatch, trying to catch one of those top red players off guard, but Sfam just drone it out. Get the pick. Wonderfully done. Pizza down as well, yet again. Sfam have been given an inch and they're taking a mile. Rashi getting that confirmation. Fortunately for Synq, 2 of their players reduced to just watching cameras from here on out. And it's still so early in the round. Pete using up that team's last C4, their only C4 of this round, hoping that with the intel provided by the rest of his team, they can get a little bit closer to evening out the man count, but also a free place there is going to stay for basically this whole round, so you can't use it to disrupt the plant. You can't use it in any other situation aside from where it's used. Exploded, 0 damage dealt to the attack. A waste of utility, and Unfalls now giving away his position. He's locked in the freezer, tries to get one but can't. Rashi kills him. 2 versus 5 now as Sfam managing to bring themselves back into this game. back into the lead, hopefully getting towards that 6-round point, unless Pete and Solo can do something beautiful there.
They got the shotgun on this player. Keox falls immediately. The Pete's now in danger because Raven is here, has the catch, has the read. This is the problem with defending so many players up on that top floor. It's so quick for the attackers to get at you. And now everything's exposed. There's so many angles that Solo has to try and watch, and he can't deal with any of them. Raven shuts him down, and it's map point to the side of Sfam.
And again, part of that just due to Synq getting too aggressive early on, taking these unnecessary risks. And it always seems to be the case that Sfam catch them out on it and just keep pushing that advantage. Keep pushing through the map. Keep getting more and more kills. And Synq just cannot deal with a pace that quick. Potentially the last round here on Cafe. And how have they chosen to deal with this problem? Well, it's back to Old Faithful. Back to those traps and that slowing utility. The Goyo, the Capcan, the Legion, all designed to both inflict chip damage, give themselves a bit more intel, and dissuade the attack from pushing certain angles. On top of that, you've got that Warden to deal with these smoke grenades that we've seen Sfam try to use to deal with getting plants down in previous rounds. They are really leaning into this utility heavily. And I really like that, except for the fact, Pastor, last time they did this, it was accompanied by an immediate run out, which was not good at all. It did lead to them eventually winning the round, luckily on the clock, but it was such an unnecessary play from the defense. And I'm hoping to God that Synq are not going to repeat that again and are just going to play into their own composition.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, we've seen 2 rounds already this half where Team Synq have won it just based from the round timer. They need that again to happen here, or if they can just find all the kills, fine with that too. Well, it doesn't look like any silliness is occurring right off the bat here. That does put me at ease slightly. Solo has been spotted here with Capcan Trap, so you would imagine that Sfam aren't going to get caught out by that. The drones march on in. That standard Cafe. Start looking at the top floor, we work our way down.
Yeah, Keox droning in his own entry point. What I'm hoping here, Pastor, is there's actually someone with him this time. Because previously when that Blitz has been alone, they've been caught out, taken a bit of chip damage from gadgets, and just been put in an unwinnable situation. 2v1 either side. So you need someone else there to at the very least get a trade or maybe help him survive to begin with. It looks like Zay is going to be the man for the job. He's on New Hatch. Got rid of one of those cameras as Keox is now ascending to the top of the building, but already over a minute has gone by. That's a lot of time that Synq have wasted by effectively just existing. Keox is going to have to start that clear pretty late, as it's probably not going to be until a minute 30 until he gets in. No, instead just choosing to go straight to the second floor, but he's on his own from this position. Will there be a backstab? Zay's got one else. Ren is here instead, looking to try and get this pick, but Keox actually wins it out entirely. No 2v1 to be seen. 3 versus 5 now as Synq falling yet again.
I mean, I don't really know what to say there, but it's just... Why do we keep doing this to ourselves, Sfam? We're in a brilliant position, but let the Blitz die completely isolated from the rest of the team. Still though, they're in the advantage. 4 versus 3. The ceiling above the site is being ripped open with plenty of time to actually get an execute going. I just hope, for their sake, that they are not going to stall out yet again, because we've seen it happen so many times. Between both halves, on this site specifically as well, where the attackers just let that clock run away from them. And already I'm starting to get worried. There's still another bio canister there. This doorway is going to be locked off until the end of the round. And this is where the diffuser is. There's nothing they can do. And it's dropped down. Unfalls 2 massive kills inside of the bakery. Raven low on HP. Sereno inside the coat check, trying to do everything he can. But it's just long angles. There's nothing he can do. And now he's by himself, on his own. Shut down. We're going to overtime.
Somehow they do it. I don't know how. yet again, they lose their roam presence entirely, but this curse of Cafe keeps striking the attacking team as Synq just get bailed out there entirely. Sfam just seemingly stop trying to attack the map once they've cleared out that roam. And the time just keeps ticking down. As you pointed out, 2 glue canisters, 30 seconds of denial on that door. Not enough time to just sit there and wait because you'll lose on the spot right there. They had to do something, but already Synq had put themselves in a great position by the end of that round. You really would have wanted to see that blitz, right? As you pointed out, you would have wanted to see a crucial bit of that attack survive just a little bit longer. Instead, as you pointed out, dies on his own, no real value there, and Synq end up taking back a round that really should have been Sfam's. It should be 1-0 in maps right now.
Oh, there are so many rounds in this game so far where you think the team that won this round should not have won this round. And yet it keeps happening. We find ourselves in overtime. We only have one man to blame, of course, Max. He was here earlier in the VC, obviously not on the broadcast, but his presence, it does cause these things. He's called Max OT for a reason. Has a very real chance of going all 15 as well. We said since the start it's been a scrappy game, it's been a close affair. And this just proves it. 6-6.
I'm really intrigued to see if the timer potentially costs Sfam another round here. They already lost 2 rounds on the clock, and that previous round, although it wasn't technically a loss on timer, you know, they had about 10 seconds left. They just had to run in and they kept dying. So they've lost 3 times directly due to poor time management. How did they solve it this time? Well, they've got the ram, they've got the blitz, which are great operators to just force your way through a clear and get a lot of stuff done really quickly. The ram can rip up so much of that floor for relatively little cost, and the blitz can just run at any isolated room. Ideally get that pick. So far though, Rashi is holding a cutoff angle. All that utility in their pocket, but instead just trying to get a kill here, and it seems to be setting up Ren to win a 1v1, and that's incredibly risky. It seems like Solo's aware. Both of these players now holding cross angles, trying to just stop this player from retreating, but Pastor, there's no one causing him to actually retreat until Keox has finally come down here, but his presence is known. There's another Captain trap there, causing even more time wasting. Sure, they've eventually got into reading, but Solo could just keep firing his weapon.
If Keox dies here, I'm going to be very, very unhappy. Okay, thank the Lord. They've used the blitz effectively to kill Aroma. Incredible stuff.
1.5 minutes taken, though.
It has taken so long. And again, the time. We've mentioned it so many times because this is Cafe Dostoevsky. And it's been the story, the deciding factor in so many of these rounds. It's getting away from them. Just a minute left. You've still got roamers on that middle floor. You've still got the players around that area. They're just not being able to clear them out. He, okay, has finally fallen back to Small Bakery. But by no means is it on the site. This is still a position that has to be cleared. And he's in relative safety here as well. Keox just drinks and dies. Again, the Blitz is alone. They're doing nothing to help themselves. And Pizza answers with a kill as well. The advantage has gone the way of Team Synq. It keeps on happening. I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day. I feel like I'm in a time loop, Pooble. Because we're just seeing the same thing happen every single time. Finally, there's a response. It's Romiko. But again, there's barely anything left. They have to get into the site now, and they have to do it quickly, because we're now into red time, and Pizza's found another. There's the kill. It's Romiko. 1 versus 2 now being made. He's just got to try and find the kills. He's trying to reload. There's no time for it. Free fires. They're sitting back. They're staying safe. Team Synq now on map point.
A real Sisyphean effort there from Sfam. Every time they think they've rolled that boulder to the top of the hill, they've cleared out that room, they're getting ready for their execute. The time is gone, and all that progress wiped away as they lose yet another round because they cannot manage that time. You saw there from the way they were playing, particularly Keox on that blitz, because the time was getting so low, he opts to sprint for that engagement, and it doesn't work out. He pays with his life, and that seals the round for Sfam and Synq. Get themselves to match point here. They have finally got so close to winning this map. 1 round away now for them. Back in kitchen. This time, though, it's Sfam defending. Sfam did a very good job defending, but that was a very different match from Cafe. Those first 6 rounds seem like an eternity ago now, as you've seen both these teams transform in wildly different ways. It's been a bit of a sloppy effort from the French side so far, as Synq look to finally clean things up here. Looking at this roster, heavy into the roam clear. The Jackal and the Blitz, as well as the Nomad, they are trying to just flush out these defenders early to give themselves as much of a chance, as much time as possible to actually execute. I really like this from Synq, just learning from the mistakes, not of themselves, but also of their opponents. Let's see if it works out for them.
Lion 2, but let's not forget, just because your attacking lineup looks like you can go quickly, Sfam have proven you can still lose on time, despite that fact. So please, Team Synq, please do not do what we've seen about 3 rounds in a row from the side of Sfam, or I will go insane. This has been a bit of an infuriating affair so far, especially if you're rooting for one of these teams. You might feel like you're wanting to pull your hair out. But 14 rounds, perhaps 15 rounds, perhaps it all ends here. Going to find out the potential last round here of Cafe Dostoyevsky, at least for today. And pressure lies on Team Synq now. We're finally getting a successful attack. It's been so long we've seen one. 2-4-2 defensive halves. You certainly say that the advantage lies with the French side right now, Puma.
Yeah, and with
Not
that kill
happens,
going
though.
the way of Synq, suddenly your entire point might just be null and void, right?
Yeah,
You know,
thanks.
they've lost their second top fragger as well, and
Oh,
Zay and
no.
Punfalls gets another. Got himself into double digits this round on that Jackal. Hasn't even had to use the Inox scanner yet, just going straight for gunfights. Pete takes a heavy amount of damage, but also traded a bit onto the Mute, who's now stuck on Red Stairs, position known, opting not to run away. Will have been scanned by the Jackal if that was the case. Rashi getting a bit aggressive, but Fod takes down Ren. It's now up to the Frost and the Mute. It looked to be such a good, such a strong side for Sfam here. Their defenses were so great, but again, it was just so long ago. Synq finally seem to have put their ideas up. They finally realized they need to be playing seriously. They need to actually be trying to win these rounds and not just getting a little silly with it. It's all on Rashi and Romiko, and Rashi falls himself, unfalls, having a great round here, all on Romiko. Can he find him? No, he can't. Pete clutches things up. Well, not even clutches. It was a very much winning situation there for Team Synq, and they've won the map. It wasn't in the cleanest fashion. It sure as hell wasn't in the quickest fashion, but it's still 1-0 in maps for this series.
Yep, and that's all you can ask for, especially on your map pick. You get the win, you move on. However, like we say, nothing is certain, really. Especially if, hey, you went to overtime on your own map pick, maybe Sfam can get a better showing on their own map pick. Nighthaven Labs is, of course, our second map, but let's dial things back. Take a look at Cafe Dostoyevsky for a second. I mean, I don't know if we really want... I feel like we've said most of what there is to say, Pooble, which is the time. The round timer. It exists. It's at the top of your screen. It's hard to miss. And yet Sfam consistently did so.
Look, I guess luckily for Sfam, Chalet is in this map, in this series in terms of the map veto, but they've got to get through Nighthaven Labs first, and that's arguably an even larger map than Cafe, right? So you're still going to be having to deal with these same issues. So they've got a little bit of time now to think things through and try and find solutions to this problem, because if those same blights stick with them heading into Nighthaven Labs on their attacks, it's going to be potentially disastrous. But similarly, right, you need Team Synq to be leaning into that, right? It took them so many attempts, so many rounds of just needless aggression before they finally realized if they just sit back and let Sfam waste their own time, they're more likely to win rounds. So adaptation and just smart play really is needed from both these sides, because it seemed like they were both so close to having that winning philosophy, but they just kept second guessing themselves. They kept going back to what they believed to be an old, reliable form of play, and it just wasn't working in that situation at all.
Yeah, and let's not forget the first half as well, right? Where Team Synq very much fell victim to similar sorts of issues. It was certainly one of the maps of all time. Thank you, Cafe Dostoevsky. God bless.
We lost Oregon to keep that in, by the way.
Yep, absolutely. Let's hope that Nighthaven Labs gives us a better showing. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We told you we'd be right back, and we are. Nighthaven Labs on the docket between these two teams, Team Synq versus Sfam. Still Pasta, still joined by Pooble, of course. Now, there's something that we didn't get to talk about, Joe, before this game, which was, who do people think is going to win the game? Obviously, Team Synq, they've got themselves into a pretty good place so far, and it feels like most people agree that Team Synq are going to be the way to go. 82% on the social vote, and I believe just one person, the talent predictions, voting for Sfam being now. Would you say this is a fair assessment? Is this looking likely to happen based on our first map?
I mean, we certainly alluded to the fact that if Sfam were to win this, it would be considered an upset. And currently, to me anyway, it looks like we might be about to see an upset, because Sfam, they were so close to winning that map, and it was a couple of just really basic mistakes compared to they had overall. I think that I would go out and say that they played better Siege. It was just they were consistently hung up on this one thing, and that was the timer. And that seems like on a map like Nighthaven, where sure, it's still a very large floor plan, but it's considerably rather easier to get into the map. That could be all they need to really fix their timer woes. And if that's the case, if they can win Nighthaven, they get to Chalet, beautiful Chalet, far smaller than either of those previous two maps. And again, if the timer is the only issue for Sfam here, then they could quite confidently win map 3, take this series 2-1. Equally, though, Synq are now looking far, far stronger compared to how they started out on Cafe.
Interestingly enough, Sfam actually lost Nighthaven Lab the last time they played it. Back in the previous round of Swiss, that was a 7-5 loss, so pretty close to no offense. But in their first round, they did win it 7-0, including that was a 6-round attacking half. So certainly they do. It could perhaps look a little bit strong on this map if you kind of ignore the previous game. Then yeah, they're starting on the attack here again. Perhaps it's a pretty good side for them.
You're sure hoping it's a strong side if you are an Sfam fan here, because if they can't put up rounds on the board early, you might as well write off this series as being a Synq victory and just already put them into that finals bracket, because you need to be putting up some kind of sign of life here if you're Sfam. I'm talking 2, ideally 3 or 4 attacking rounds, because if not, it seems like this really reawoken side of Synq are going to make the absolute most of that, going onto their attacks, which they have looked a lot stronger on in those final, I guess that final round of Cafe, right? They were really clinical when it came to their attack. And that's something we can't really have said the same for Sfam, particularly near the end, where they were kind of stumbling. It seemed like they got in their own heads a bit. They looked really strong and really confident to start off with, aside from those timer issues. But as the map went on, you could tell they were getting a little bit tilted, I feel.
Yeah. let's hope that that gap between the
Defenders, protect
games
your
has
bombs
acted
from
as a
being
little bit of a
defused by
mental
attackers.
reset for Sfam, because otherwise we could be in for a very quick map, and no one really wants to see that kind of domination. So again, for the sake of general enjoyment of Siege, a third map might be good for that. So we head down to the basement. First things first. Fairly standard defensive composition here, people. I think it's fair to say. Got a little bit of interest there with the Capcan and the Legion, but mostly this is
10
pretty standard
seconds to
stuff.
insertion.
Yeah, it's kind of leaning into that similar stally playstyle that they were bringing in there at the end of Cafe, right? With that Legion and Capcan duo. This time along with the Fenrir, just to add even more utility they have to clear, give themselves a bigger advantage when it comes to gunfights. For Sfam, they've also changed things up a little bit. Less focused on utility and more on kills. The Jackal providing great success to Synq at the end of their last map. Now this time being used alongside the Deimos for Sfam could be the duo they need to just break through this roam game.
Indeed, the Blitz planned away, but Keox, no matter, I'll go on to a different shield agent instead. Immediately pressuring in through the Aqua stairs and into command. Looking to head in towards server as well. Really clearing out this attack very early on, but Fod had to pull back. Still finds the opening pick onto Rashi. The Deimos gone. A lot of that roam clearing information has now been taken away.
Yeah, that's not the start you want. A Capcan kill. They brought it so many rounds, Ren. They were basically insta-picking it every time on Cafe. But, no, just not droned out, I guess. Poor drone work. Keox taken down as well, and my.
Oh dear.
Synq. That's about as good of a start as you want, unless a miracle happens for Sfam. This is looking to be a incredibly dominant first attacking round win, potentially a flawless round on the cards for Synq here. Sfam now might just be a case of damage mitigation rather than winning the round itself, as Zay, cornered by Warehouse, at least gets one. No flawless round this time, but a great trade from Unfalls leaves Romico alone. 1 versus 4. 2 Jackal scans remaining. You can see those footprints, can see the head. Clicks it, gets a second. Hang on, Pasta. 2 Jackal tracks, 2 defenders remaining. If you can split these 1v1s, there's potential for a win here. Sees the mirror, but gets blown up by the C4. A heartbreaking end to that round, but Synq, a phenomenal first defensive round here in Nighthaven Labs.
Incredible end of that round, just in terms of the comedic value alone. But yeah, so close, unfortunately, not to be. Oh, but it was a good try. Very, very nice attempt. Yeah, Team Synq, they just everything went well for them. I mean, you gotta question some of the information gathering from Sfam there. It feels like maybe some of the demons from Cafe Dostoevsky still plaguing them. Didn't know about the Capcan traps, got called out, and there's a kill to it. Bod's able to find a kill elsewhere as well. Obviously, we don't quite know how that happened. But it just, every single thing kind of went against them, apart from the 1v4 situation. And even then, they still weren't able to win the round. So, Sfam, hey, I just need them to lock in a little bit.
Well, they've locked in something here, Pasta. Keox, the traditional shield player, on the Fuse. Now, Fuse does have access to a ballistic shield. I don't know if it's being brought here. No. LMG being opted for instead. I'm more a fan of that. I guess this is potentially designed to deal with a bandit trick, because it forces the bandit away. Fuse, for those who don't know, can place these cluster charges through reinforced walls as of actually quite a long time ago now, but the only real interaction you see it with... Yeah, the only real interaction you see it with is for countering things like bandit or cade tricks, but Unfalls is nowhere near that wall. It's just 2 pre-placed bandit batteries. Unfalls instead, playing down below, has the opportunity for vertical C4s. Keox placing that cluster charge down, so it's going to force Fod away, but the mirror window popped, potential for a nitro to be thrown, and that actually scares away Keox instead. A bit of an opposite reaction there than intended, and they can still provide more pressure through this hole as the cluster charge and thermite charge finally going through, but it's on to nothing, and still the bandit battery comes online. A horrific start to this round for Sfam.
How did the EMP not work there? That's ridiculous. And the opening kill goes to Team Synq again. Unfall keeping up this impact, and it's Rashi that falls first. The second round in a row here on Nighthaven Labs. Didn't have the best of games on Cafe Dostoevsky from the kills department, and continues to have a pretty torrid time here on Nighthaven Labs. Unfortunate for sure. Sfam, they need to find that strength. They need to find that resolve. They'll be facing down the barrel of a 0-2 start here on this map. What can they do? Starting to breach open into the site now. They're getting some looks in. The Clash just getting pressured. Just sit there, shown in front of face, giving away all the information that Sfam could dream of, that they could desire, or Team Synq even. These teams need to stop both starting with an S. It's confusing.
A bomb has been
Now
located.
Keox potentially could get caught out here by Solo. Away in time. 50 seconds remaining, and here's the Warden up close and personal with Keox. Long angle's not quite working for Sfam either. A little bit of damage dealt, but Romiko can't quite connect in the correct manner. There's a kill, but Unfall's flanking. They're completely unaware of it. Romiko's found another. The whiff is unholy, but still able to get a kill. Second one down. Unfalls. Massive impact, massive kills, and Team Synq a 2-0 start.
Just a car crash, really, for Sfam there. Luckily, that the major blunder that we saw with that thermite charge didn't seem to cause too much of an issue. They had double hard breach. They still had players go into IT, so it seems like they eventually managed to get that problem solved. But, you know, they lost virtually every gunfight they came against. Yet again, it seemed like they were caught off guard early on with that early pick towards the defense. And it just seemed almost like a total misread of the situation by Sfam there, even down to something like that fuse pick, which was designed to counter a bandit trick that simply never arrived. It could have been used on any other operator that could have had a much higher impact on this round. As we head on to Cafeteria now, this is a traditionally very weak site. Luckily for Sfam, if there's any round they could be winning in this rotation, it is Kitchen Cafeteria, because it just is incredibly difficult to defend. It has an external hatch, window play as well. They should be aiming for a really execute-focused advance here. I would like to see a lot of smokes, a lot of disruption, and potentially just sneak a case down. We're seeing the Beast, which is nice. The Ram, good for ripping up floors, but also great for noise cancellation as well. Those drones are so loud that you can master plant if you want to. Unfall's going for what appears at first to be a very risky run out, but that is totally free for any of those watching. You can get that reinforced hatch for no risk of your life whatsoever, just due to where those spawn positions are. So a great little tip there being shown from Synq, hoping to help them win this round.
Yeah, nice little tidbit. Kitchen, not often the tertiary site chosen, but little plays like that, it makes it just that little bit more winnable. Team Synq, they certainly seem confident on this, continuing to pressure those extremities of the map. The open barricaded doors, and they're just winging it willy-nilly. They just... It's like they've lost the respect for Sfam, right? In that first map, we maybe saw them, oh, they were a little bit timid, they wasted their time somewhat. Now, they absolutely do not care. They're just trying to show Sfam who's boss right now.
Yeah. Despite that very aggressive play being brought here, Sfam do think better of it, and they haven't offered themselves up to be peaked as of yet. No damage exchange on either side from the looks of things. No picks, obviously. Still a 5 versus 5, and really that is heavily benefiting Synq, and what benefits me even more is Solo in a corner catching another player off guard again. Could have got another. That was almost disastrous for Sfam, but Solo doesn't quite catch that head, thinks better of it, and retreats away. Yet again, though, poor drone work from the looks of things are costing Sfam early in this round, and they haven't even gotten to the main portion of where this roam and this setup is. They are not above cafe or kitchen as of yet. Pizza, tucked in a corner as well, could potentially provide more issues for this team. Unfalls too. There's just so many players in these little corners, and if Sfam don't up their drone work, they're going to lose more and more bodies. Keox caught by a Goo Needle. His position will be known as Unfalls. Gets one, looking for the second. Zay is so low. It depends on which of these players has the guts to swing here. It looks like both of them just think better of it, but with such low HP on that in the ace, unless that shot is perfectly landed, which it isn't, it's going to be another kill. 1 versus 4. It's all on the Thermite, who's not even entered the building yet, Pastor. And it's yet another horrible round for Sfam, looking to be 3-0 for Synq.
Romako in a 1 versus 4 again, got 2 kills in round 1 in this circumstance. Needs to do more here, but he's been caught on the default camera. Gets the spot onto one player, can't quite land it. Knows they're flanking him. Vertical angles as well. Under so much pressure, everything going against. And Team Synq 3-0 start, looking flawless, looking unstoppable here on Nighthaven Labs. It's no surprise that Sfam have requested that timeout.
Something needs to change drastically.
Look at the scoreboard.
For
Look
Sfam
at the scoreboard
here.
right now. 5-1-1-0-0. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, and we've got to say, this isn't just a shooter. There's other elements to this game. But equally, if all 3 of your rounds have been lost due to all 5 of your players dying, you've got to start looking at kills at some point. And it seems like Sfam are just not able to deal with the aggression and the mechanical prowess that is being shown by Synq right about now, which is unfortunate because back in Cafe, it was seeming really, really balanced in terms of how well these players were performing against each other. It seemed like what really made the difference were the other factors of this round, but there's no such kind of element of this matchup whatsoever. It's simply a case of Synq are winning every single one of their gunfights here, and Sfam are not. Aside from one of their players, they are getting completely rolled here. So what do we need to see? We need to see a heavier investment in utility. Brava, Jackal, Deimos, instantly selected, along with the Nomad in the round, Dakaibi being brought as well. That's an operator that has managed to surprisingly evade the ban phase, and we haven't noticed at all in this map because they haven't been utilizing it properly whatsoever, or even utilizing it to begin with in some of these rounds. Sfam need to be making the most of these tools. They need to be playing around what's available. They swapped the Dakaibi out instantly in this repick for a Flores because they've seen that it's down. The site is this first floor site. I still would like to see the Dakaibi though. The phone calls offer you so much in terms of intel, and what have you consistently been pointing out here, Pastor? They haven't been properly droning these positions. So why are you not bringing the free noise on defenders, operator?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and it's not like the defense has mute, right? Which is kind of the counter to Dockerby. Completely free. You can just use it and win. They're just not doing that. Instead, going back to the stuff that hasn't worked for them. I've got a bad feeling about this one, people. I've got a really, really bad feeling.
Ultimately, we'll just have to wait and see how this round elapses, but I do agree with you. It seems like these issues haven't been properly tended to. Obviously, we don't have dialogue from the timeout itself, so we don't know what was said, but compositionally, not much has changed here whatsoever.
We probably wouldn't have been able to understand it either.
They are French, yeah.
We don't speak French. That would be quite funny though. Like, oh yeah, we have listening, so we're just sat here like, oh, I didn't understand any of that.
I think he said I something? Yeah.
It sounded a bit angry maybe, but yeah. I mean, we all know how Linky Pack was in.
Well, passion transcends languages, right? So maybe depending on the tone of voice, we could have seen something. So it's a very similar setup here from the defense. Those 2 bandit batteries and the mirror window being brought. Let's just hope that they double Thatcher this instead, so that we don't see another situation as previously allowed. But no, that bandit battery is still up. Have they used another thermite charge already? They've only got 1 exothermic, so it has been tricked despite there being no bandit by the wall. Not a great start for Sfam, but they should be getting this wall open. They've gotten 2 picks instead. Maybe a wall doesn't matter if you're actually finally winning some of these gunfights. It's forced Synq into a bit of a scramble here from the looks of things, but they have managed to steady. With the 6-12, they've stemmed the bleeding with a Legion shotgun here, Pastor. Ren's on pretty low health as well as Unfalls gets another. Sfam had such a brilliant start to this round, and it's all gone crumbling down again in the most embarrassing way possible.
A bomb has been located.
Hey, Rashi's on the side at least, but where's the diffuser? It's upstairs. They've got no sight on the case at all. They just they're just stuck up here. I'm going to be honest, no idea how Solo got that kill so quickly. I could have sworn the 612 does not do that much damage. But Rashi's now fallen as well from the vertical, and they've heard the shots from Raven. Going to be right up close. Been spotted, sprinting through. Get out of there, my friend! The Legion, all the utility combining, and the super shorty to put the BM icing on the cake. Sfam, whatever their timeout was, it absolutely did not work.
What is there even to say about that?
I want to see the replay on this 612 kill. Like, it just completely melted through the player. Like,
I mean,
it was like 2 shots and he died from across the room. That's crazy.
We know the developers have been consistently kind of tweaking the way that pellet spread works and shotgun damage for pellets. So a lot of these shotguns that have previously been considered a joke are now actually kind of sleeper picks, right, in the right circumstances. And Nighthaven second floor is actually one of those really great use cases for a shotgun, because a lot of it is these winding corridors that always have a very short engagement distance. So that was the plan there from Solo. Personally, I wouldn't put my faith in the 612, but that's why I'm not one of these players here, and seemingly it did pay off wonderfully there. Synq 4-0 up as Sfam really seemed to have a bit of a handle on things, though. They mucked up the breach a bit, but they got that early engagement. They got those 2 picks, and Synq really did seem to be kind of panicking from the way those players were moving. And then once again, they just simply got outgunned. It was really sad to see, because it looked like they'd finally, figured out a way to actually start winning. They fundamentally changed the way they were approaching that round. And it's a little bit sad that they lost it in the way they did, because it was great to see a bit of adaptation there. My question, though, is it too late? Synq 4-0 up, sure, you're finally starting to play the round a bit differently, but there's only 2 opportunities to put rounds on the board.
Opportunities. I mean, that's a good start. That's a very good start. Rashi with the opener. Unfalls goes down, who has been a force to be reckoned with, really, on this map so far. There's 9-1 after these 4 rounds, but
where's the drones?
Yeah, your Deimos falls like that is honestly unforgivable.
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer right there to why there was no intel is Romiko, sure, he gets the kill on the cross, but he's playing the cross on Jackal. That should be one of those operators you're devoting to clearing that top floor. As Pizza retaking ground above, I'm not sure if they'll be aware of his position. Drones seemingly now going down to that first floor, so he should be able to get away with it. Keox misses shots onto Pete. They seem like they've been aware of Pizza, who's now ducking away himself. So still a good start from Sfam here. Even better as Pete's taken down. Looks like they might finally put a round on the board here on Nighthaven. They can just keep things going. 4 versus 2. Plenty of utility, plenty of capable guns for the job. A nice shot on the C4 if we don't hear that detonate. Romiko taken down a little bit low, surely requesting support from his players. Pete can get this as a chance, but no, Romiko wins it himself. Solo at least gets 1, but a 1 versus 3 is not looking winnable. The trade comes through. Great job, Sfam. You finally won a round here. We're now on to round 6, though.
Hey, if they can get a 4-2 half, they've got a chance. Like, this is Nighthaven Labs, let's not forget. A map that does tend to be very defender-sided. Honestly, like, a 4-2 half is kind of what's expected. I think if Sfam get a second round here, it would feel like a bit of a robbery, maybe, considering how utterly outclassed they were for the first 4 rounds of this map.
Well, I am going to interject in here a bit and be a little bit of a stats nerd. Nighthaven,
Wow.
trending to be almost
actually-
50-50 here, actually. The real caveat, though, is it's got a dramatically small amount of rounds played per actual map, which shows that a lot of these have been complete and total blowouts. So you don't put too much weight on that statistic, because there's been a lot of 7-0s on Nighthaven.
Yeah, Sfam 7-0 was included a 6-0 attack.
10 seconds to go.
As we can see, maybe that's not indicative of the overall standard
5 seconds to insertion.
for the overall precedent on this map.
Attackers are moving to the bomb.
But yes, you can maneuver around a 2-4, but you would have loved a 3-3, right? And I think Synq aren't going to be too bothered if they're only 4-2 up compared to 5-1 up. But still, just gotta wait and see. The clash is being brought here, so there's real emphasis on stalling out and information now, like we saw in round 1. Pete's on that operator. As for the attack, yet again, nothing much really changing. The Dakaibi being brought once again. I just want to see how they end up using it in terms of the roam clip.
Okay, find out. Pretty slowly, as it turns out, so far. That's the... Comes in. Not much has really been gathered from this, but I was going to say, but they do force the player out into a good position, but no, that's not Dockerby's SMG-12. That's the Warden. So it's the opening kill for Team Synq yet again. Yeah, the bad feelings are returning here.
Yeah, and we've been going on about how great Dakaibi is for clearing roamers, right? But you can't just use that gadget as like a replacement to droning. And that seems to be what Sfam have done in that round. They just pop the Dakaibi call just to not have to drone that first floor and see like if there's anyone nearby. And that has led to them completely missing that vertical angle. Ford with another great pick here. Playing towards IT. That final Dakaibi call gone out as well, and it hasn't been used to detect Unfalls, who's still, to my knowledge, below on that first floor. So a bit of a misuse of utility here. Doesn't quite find engagement as of yet, but they have no idea he's down there. Eventually, Ford is taken down, so it's a 4v3. Adding on to that, there's a clash on the board. There's only 3 guns for the defense. This is still workable for Sfam, but looking at their positions, looking at the health on 2 of their players, you've still got to favor Synq here, but Keox is making things work. That's another onto solo.
Yeah, my main worry here again is the time. We saw it plague them so much on Cafe Dostoyevsky. Could just be the nail here. And there's a player going down, Raven falling outside of IT. Now these players can bolster, but Unfalls has gone down. 2 versus 2. They're looking to pressure. Pete with 1. Now the clash becomes a thorn in the side. Drone on out. They're getting pressured. Teammate nowhere near to assist. But then now the zaps come through again. He doesn't have the diffuser. Only 15 seconds left. Another goo mine. So much damage. And there's the first kill. What's Pizza going to do about this? Because now we're into red time. He can just sit back and wait. He can just fall away here. And there's not going to be anything that Xerox can do about this. All the time's gone. Everything's taken away. Team Synq get the round. And again, it's due to the time that Sfam crumble under that pressure.
Yep. They're all demons coming back to bite them. At the very least, they're no longer getting consistently outgunned. So that could be useful heading onto your defensive half. That you can now put up a bit of a fight. The problem, though, is you're going to have to put up a bit of a fight to win 5 rounds here to get yourself at least locked into overtime. As for Synq, they're on this disadvantaged side, but they've only got to win 2 rounds. Hell, they've only got to win 1 to really start putting pressure on Sfam here. So they are by far and away in the driver's seat in this matchup. Question is, though, can they win these 2 rounds, right? It is Nighthaven. Sfam have looked a little bit stronger in these past 2 rounds. And if they start to win and string together a couple rounds in sync, maybe start to lose rounds in ways that they aren't too happy with, you could
Attackers
start
have
to bring in
located
the
a
mental
bomb.
factor here. You could start to consider, well, maybe Synq are starting to get in their own heads, like we saw with Sfam last map. So there is potential for that. Do not write out Sfam as of yet. But this is such a strong side for Synq. We can only kind of entertain those possibilities for so long without just bringing forth the fact that Synq 5-1 up, incredible start for them. Just got to win 2 more rounds. Surely doable, right, Pastor?
Surely.
Right? Surely.
Surely. I'm so worried and scared that we're gonna get like a rolled reversal of Cafe Dostoyevsky. But surely it doesn't happen again, right? Right?
We'll have to wait and see.
Right?
I like this double vertical setup from Pete here, designed to
it's really
counter
nice.
that wall. And he gets one of the batteries though.
I mean, it's going to be enough for an 8th charge to come on in. Not going to be able to trick that wall either, thanks to the vertical angle being opened up. Free access into IT. Maybe perhaps a better angle to work with as well to at least make sure that you're not going to get swung. It might actually end up being quite good for them. Ravens found the Blackbeard as well. But with Keops on stairs, now being pressured from behind, there's still plenty that they can do up against this Synq attack.
Shotgun Fenrir.
Flank on flank on flank. Look at that. Pizza's gone down. And so is the Blackbeard. That's a questionable play, but somehow Solo gets the kill? Ridiculous.
Yeah, a lot of just wild gunfights being taken here. It still resulted in a surprising even man count, but Solo very, very low on HP here. Might just be best for his team if he works on the drones from here on out. Not sure if he has any active that can be used. Just allowing the rest of his healthier teammates to take these gunfights, because of one stray bullet will put him in a DBNO position. And from there, there's no way he can be picked up. Drone goes out, sees Romako's position. If Solo, feeling risky, is feeling confident he could try and act on this intel, feels like it's best that he does, swinging into top Aqua. Romako's in a surprisingly pinned position here, but Unfalls gets taken down. Pete takes down Romako. Rashi's still available around that pillar to continue to defend this site as Zay has gone down below. That's a monumental risk. Flanks through Aqua, seems to have worked out. Gets one, gets traded! All on Solo and Rashi now for either of their sides. Solo's on such low HP, this angle is so difficult for him, and Rashi gets the headshot anyway. No amount of health will have saved Solo in that position, and would you look at that, Pastor? The defense managed to put up that first round. First of many required, but it is an improvement.
It absolutely is. They're playing off each other a lot better. I loved that flank that we saw come through from Zerino as well. In the end, it still came closer, 1 versus 1. And like you said as well, still many more rounds to go. Sfam nowhere near out of the woods just yet. It's their first step on this journey. And I mean, let's face it, you're going to the top floor in Nighthaven Labs. It's a strong defensive site. Maybe expect the defenders to be able to win that one out anyway. Back down to the basement, it's another strong one, but at some point, Sfam are gonna have to play a tertiary. Or the alternative is that they lose one of their first 2 sites, and that's not great for them either.
Certainly is not. Still, you know, there's potential there. I still am just...
10 seconds to go.
I'm so scared. I'm
very worried for Synq here, because, you know, if you let Sfam get away with stringing a few of these rounds together, it could prove disastrous. I'm liking the operator selection from Synq here immediately, and I'm liking that even more from Rashi, only because it got a kill. I would have been very, very critical if he did not get a pick there, but you know what? He's already gotten the player. I'm not going to embarrass myself here. Really nice from him, taking down that top performer on Synq instantly. The IQ gone, so it's not the end of the world in terms of operators, but that's still a player you would have liked to keep for round 8.
There's quite a lot of information that has gone away too, and if there's anything, I mean, The first half of Cafe, we were like, oh, time could be an issue, and it absolutely was. This is something where we've seen in the first half a lack of information really hurt the attacker's chances. Could this happen yet again as it just snuck right past Pizza, just directly under his nose, really? Somehow has been able to escape from that situation. Reno now in a fairly safe position on this staircase, Pooble.
Indeed he is. Also not able to be accurately, precisely droned out due to that gadget. They'll still know of his rough position, but that just helps even more when it comes to taking down attackers. Rashi with another beautiful pick. Notices a third here. Can choose to prone and just play a bit more defensively. Any amount of time that he's still alive here is more and more useful for his team because it wastes Synq's clock. Luckily, Pete gets that pick, so they seemingly have cleared that top floor, but Keox is still here, still available, trying to get a pick. Doesn't quite take down the Jackal and is now just running away. If he survives and wastes more time, that's even greater because look, we're almost down to those final 60 seconds. Keox finally taken down, but is it too late for Synq here, Pastor?
I really don't know, but the problem is they have a two-player advantage, and now it's been cut down. The momentum in this round, at least, is all Synq right now after a brilliant start from the side of Sfam. On the defensive side, they've got to hold on, and they're constantly being pressured now. Thankfully, Ravens on the dock can heal up Sereno, but with the Jackal, they're going to have so much information of the whereabouts of these players. Now pushing down the staircase. EXO looking to be that next area of pressure. Maybe they're getting cold feet a little bit here, Pooble. They're falling back. I don't know if they really have the time to be able to do this. The Vulcan canisters pop. That's 20 seconds of stall. There's only 30 seconds on the round. When that gets popped, you're leaving yourself with just 10 to get in to do the work that you want to do. It's going to be tight. It's going to be down to the squeaky bum time here. And they don't check behind the pillar. A massive collateral from Sereno. Now Unfall left 1 versus 3 and can do absolutely squat. All of the action just like that. Sfam keep themselves holding on with a chance.
Got a little bit close towards the middle though, didn't it?
It really
we
did.
saw that two-man advantage dissipate due to a little bit of an overcommitment on that top floor. But Sfam still pulled away with that round. They're still now only within 2 of their opponents here. A 5-1 to a 5-3 is maybe where a couple of those thoughts start creeping into the mind of these Synq players about how there's still potential they lose this. There's still potential, God forbid, they go to that map 3. So Sfam really want to capitalize on that stress, and they just want to keep things going, keep playing towards their game plan here. Back onto this first floor site for them. They've got the castle, they've got the Legion, so that's a lot of stall already. The Mirror and the Warden on top of that, just making things incredibly uncomfortable for the attackers. Another great addition to this lineup. As for Synq, well, it's still this kind of mix of utility denial and also roam clear. The Deimos, the Nomad for clearing up those roamers, and your standard utility ops of the Thatcher, Thermite, and Brava, just to deal with the walls, particularly on that top floor, to gain them a bit more easy access onto the building itself. I think for me, it's really going to be a case of how quick they can clear this top floor. That suggests how well they'll do in this round. Because if they can immediately get some ground towards Office, towards maybe IT and Connector, they should be in for a really good, strong chance of winning this round.
Things for that tertiary, and that's always the worry, isn't it? For a side that's trying to come back from a 5-1 deficit, you've got to try and win one of these rounds. The bandit trick there, not quite successful. Bod pulls off just in time, and now the stuns come in. All the blasts being used up as well. So much utility in the faces. Romako being caught by those stuns as well inside of the actual site itself. I'm assuming IT's been opened up, and it indeed has. Using up, taking away the air jabs straight away, making sure that utility can't come in. But the defuse's being planted here, Joe. Fox just sticking it. I don't think this defense are aware. They've got absolutely no idea. Now they know, because suddenly that round timer has shifted. The sirens blaring, everything crumbling for them on the site. Unfalls with a triple. Sereno, he's got to dip out of there. Can't waste his life. He's just got to try and use this pistol to try and push in. Stamos tracker on him. Everyone knows his position. Everyone trying to kill him. And they succeed. It's series point now for Team Synq. A brilliant execute here on the warehouse site.
Yeah, just no intel really. No concrete visual intel. I guess the plan from Sfam was to rely entirely on sound. And you play Siege, you know that sound isn't reliable at the best of times. And having your entire defense focused on just hearing if they jump in and plant the case is going to yield mixed results. And for Sfam there, it really resulted in a round that was lost before it even really started, right? There was very little aggression towards that top floor. They only got a couple bits that they needed open, and then from there they could just defend that plant safely, securely from outside, add on the thermite, add on the Thatcher EMPs just to stop any nitro cells and cause a bit more sound. The Deimos scan as well to just put additional pressure on specific defenders. It was a great execution Synq there. Really nicely done. Only one more round now required, and all those thoughts that might have been starting to bubble in their heads about how they could maybe throw this map away are just going to be gone. They're going to be right back to that neutral mental because they've just won that round. They've just put themselves on round 6. 3 attempts required to win here, and for Sfam, it makes that comeback seem so much harder. They've used their safety net. It's now all or nothing for them.
Attackers dropped the diffuser.
And that's an all or nothing play.
I mean, it absolutely is. And Ford falling, I mean, what hard breach do they have left now? And I'm not seeing any, unless these claymores are actually hard breach charges that there's an update we haven't heard about. There's nothing really that Synq can do to get into the map here, especially looking at these breaches. Yes, sure, Solo is already inside of meeting room hallway, but in terms of getting those hard breaches open, I'm looking at IT, I'm looking at the ones onto the site as well. Not really anything they're going to be able to do.
Nope, it's just going to be down to swinging doors and winning gunfights, and that was something that Synq were very proficient at on their attacks. They were just consistently winning 1v1 after 1v1. Sfam have improved since then considerably, and without any concrete approach, it could be difficult, but Pizza lands a beautiful shot, brings his team back into things, puts more pressure on site. It's shown Sfam that Synq can get incredibly close to them if they want to, and that surely has disrupted some of that game plan, as now Synq starting to get a little bit more laid back. I'm not laid back, but
Relax.
Bringing themselves, relaxed. They aren't forcing the issue now. They've got their even man count. They don't really need to push things any further. They've got time. They've got utility. Obviously, no hard breach, but they don't want to just give away another free pick to Sfam.
Yeah, that certainly would be thing that they do not want to happen. I mean, ideally for them, they close things out right here, right now. Round number 10 in Nighthaven Labs. Sfam, they've got to try and hold on here. Flashbang's coming on in. The magnet does catch. It has fallen. There's a trade right back. The instant response. Kiox as well does get one. Now the nade's in, pressuring Raven away. Last 2 players inside of Aqua. What can they do? Close out the map here. 1 player inside of rafters. Solo's been able to find the catch onto Kiox. Everything starting to get a little bit more worrisome. Now a 1 versus 2. Made a 1 versus 1. Raven, what can he do here? Solo sends in the nade, but maybe getting caught out. Oh my god, he's done it!
Just an insane heads-up play there from Solo, winning this map here and now for his team. It looked like it was going to go on a little bit longer. It looked like Sfam were going to limp just a bit closer to that finish line, but no. Solo shuts down any thought of a potential comeback. Remarkable play from him. And a remarkable bounce back of a map for Synq there. From a nail-bitingly close cafe to an utterly dominant display on Nighthaven Labs.
Yeah, they look like they owned it in the end there. On Sfam's map pick as well, just utterly dominant. So, I mean, at that point, that's kind of it. Like you said, what a ridiculous play in the end there to make, um, to close out the game.
Yeah.
All in all, pretty good win for Team Synq, and they find themselves in the playoffs now. They join Ghost Army as the two teams to come out on top in the Swiss stage. That 8-team double elimination playoffs bracket, of course. Now we have two of those teams already confirmed. Sfam, they join LDL in that 2-1 bracket. Still just one game away from being confirmed and qualifying into that playoffs themselves. But now things start to get a lot more uncertain. You've got so many teams in the mix there. You look at that 1-1 group. You've got Minions, you've got MVG, you've got Aspire, you've got Team Cook, you've got Entropy. To name but 5 in that group. They're all going to be vying to play against you in that 2-1 bracket to qualify themselves into the playoffs. It gets so much more difficult from here on out, people.
Yeah, particularly those 2-1 matches. We've already seen Sfam here. LDL is a very storied roster. Combine that with the names you mentioned in 1-1. Those 2-1 advancement matches could be absolute bangers here. But that is your two top-seeded teams decided, right? You've got who we've seen, Team Synq, as well as that Ghost Army roster. So those are your top dogs. Those are the names to beat in this playoffs bracket decided. But playoffs is still quite a way away. We've got 3 more rounds of Swiss until then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we know that as well as Team Synq, who, like we said, always qualify, never normally have the same success that they're having now. This is kind of what we've been waiting for almost the entire time from them. We know how good Ghost Army are. You know, we got some former ESA winners on that roster that are going to be able to deal damage. So Team Synq, brilliant victory today. But if you want to be the team to lift that imaginary Season X trophy that doesn't exist, but you know, metaphorically, you want to be the team to win out the event, to get that prize pool, to really find that success, it's still a very, very long road ahead of you.
Yeah, I mean, there's ultimate bragging rights winning this. This is Season X.
Season X, potentially
potentially the
last
final
season. Let's
the
not
final
forget.
season of this iteration of the ESA Cup. If you can win that, you know, that's again ultimate bragging rights. That is you
Place to get to,
solidifying
but
yourself
really.
as you will always be the final ESA Cup champion if you can win Season X. So there's a lot to play for here, especially because it's a season, as we alluded to, particularly before the match started. It's a season with a lot of familiar names in these teams who've been around the block. Some have even previously won the tournament itself. And then you've got teams like Synq here, who did manage to get to the playoffs last season, but were quickly eliminated. And before then, very much a team that couldn't get through the Swiss stage, but kept trying, kept coming back. And eventually they found really dominant success in this bracket. I'm really excited to see how it plays out in those knockouts.
Yeah. So but that is going to be us for today, Pooble. We had I had an incredible time. The match that we got coming up tomorrow is the first of those sort of mid-bracket games. It's No Offense taking on Virafly Ascorn. So do look forward to that one. Thank you very much for joining us. I've been joined by Pooble. We've had a Hot Nooks producing, the Unnamed Gamer on the observing. We'll let you go now while myself and Pooble try and find another way to escape the ESA bunker again. Good night.